going here. It takes a few seconds, just standard. What's up, guys? First joined. Yeah, buddy, what's up, what's up? Alright, so I'm just clicking through the YouTubes here, making sure my sounds are off. We'll mute it. Top chat, bingo. Working on things. Cool. Alright. Well, hey, welcome. I'm pretty sure wherever you are, it's probably kind of like fall already. So we're tying a few different little flies. Right now, here in Northern California, we're seeing like a ton of betas come off every day at about 2 o'clock. And so we're going to tie one of my favorite betas patterns, which is a Hogan's S&M. Daniel Collin, what's up, man? Really like the new Loon tools. Thank you. Appreciate it. There's a lot of stuff coming out from Loon, so it should be pretty exciting. So the two things that are going on right now in my world out here in Northern California, Southern Oregon, and probably a lot of other spots across the West Coast is tons of betas. We're kind of trickling through some caddis hatches, getting ready for the October caddis. Then everybody else who's anywhere near an anadromous waterway is thinking about steelhead. So tonight we are just going to tie a variation of Hogan Brown's S&M, and I'm doing it on a jig hook. Now Hogan doesn't tie it this way. I did get special pre-authorization from him, so we'll go with that. Awesome, Brian Riverwise. I appreciate it. Brian at Riverwise Anglers, right on, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, the D-loop tweezer is a pretty cool one. It's one of my favorites, actually. So what I'm going to have here is a 5/16 fire hole stick. If you don't have that, any jig hook's going to work. This is a 3.8 mil modeled slotted tungsten bead of awesomeness from Hairline. Now you don't have to use that. Like, long story short, if you have copper one and that's the one you want to use, go for it. You have a black one, go ahead and use it. The last show will be available on YouTube. We had the YouTube crash. I'll shoot a video for YouTube though for that tube fly. Shouldn't be too bad. So what I'm going to do here is I start my thread and just get some solid wraps in. So one of the things for me that always drives me bonkers is this tungsten bead moves around, and I don't want to build up on this pattern a lot because it's supposed to be a pretty sparse pattern. So what I'm going to use for the tail here, and it's pretty durable material, is some pheasant rump. And I grab just enough here to where I think I'll be good as far as my distance. I like a little bit longer tail. I kind of believe it gives it like more of a swimming action. And so here's my quick hack for that. So right now, that is going to hold my bead because for some reason it doesn't matter, but it drives me crazy that it rotates all of the time. So I'm just going to start out here doing some connecting-ish turns. It's not super critical. And then we get a nice, long, triple-sectioned mayfly tail. So for the wire you want to use, it's kind of, I like to match the body. It's not 100% necessity. This one's a little bit bigger than I think Hogan would tie it. That's a 12 jig hook. So I'm going to use a BR. A lot of times I'm using a small wire. Little bottom. We'll figure that out. So I kind of ran out. Traditionally, Hogan uses a kind of color matching biot, but So we'll see. I just have a green one, which should work. And I'm going to kind of come back deep into the body here just a bit, and we're going to plug in that, and you want this to sit right on top. That's going to get pulled over. There's a little offender right there, but we can clean them up. Natural product. I'm going to move that down just a hair actually. So you can see we're going to be able to build our little body right here, and that's going to be our wing case essentially. So next up, what I like to use, and it's just because it's one of the handier dubbings, I have this whole box of kind of some of my favorites, and it's a lot of some Mercer's Buggy Nymph. So I'm going to take just a little pinch of this olive brown. And the bead size may look super dumb and oversized or whatever, even though I'm not fishing this in like a high stick or a competition style. I still enjoy the benefits of the heavier wing case. So what I do is I throw down a base of dubbing, and once I have that base, then I'm going to go ahead and move in and do our legs. This got train wrecked. So you can see what I do most of the time with my flash, especially midge flash. This is a midge crystal flash. Is I will just cut the edge and try to pull out what I need. Apparently I got a little excited on the last round and didn't do that. So we want these to separate and become just our little legs. Actually, hold on. I'm going to double those up. So I want a little more leg on this guy. So if you guys remember, trout can't count, doesn't matter. Hopefully nobody got stuck in that crazy Oregon snowstorm last week. It was actually seemed pretty daunting in places. So you can see now we've made a butterfly, and fish don't eat butterflies, so we have to kind of progress from there. So we're just going to take a little bit more dubbing, and we're going to use this little section of dubbing here to kind of keep those leg sections separated. And I'm going to use it to push the rear ones back more, and then what I'll do is I'll kind of work through and around up front here. So that'll push these into a more open position, and then at the end of all this we can go ahead and trim it up. And then I pull you can pull your wing case over right here. I'm going to darken this thread down a bit before I whip finish. Patagonia, hello, hello, good evening. Anybody have any plans to go out and fish this weekend? I have to guide tomorrow actually. It's kind of a strange one. Guiding overflow for the local shop here. So that should be fun. Chile, what up Chile? I like it. I like it. So Hogan likes to cut this little bit here and create this little deal. So what we're going to use for our wing case, because I want to darken it down, is I'm just going to use a little bit of black resin. This is a new product that will be available to the masses next week and kind of out in the world. So 10-mile marathon. Coho on Puget Sound. Yes. Cool. I heard you guys had some cohos about mousing the Delaware River tomorrow night. Sweet. I'm jealous. So what I'm doing here is, this is like kind of a fun trick when you're doing wing cases. If you hold it upside down, gravity tends to pull it into a nicer bubble. Just kind of a cool little hack there. Then I'm going to trim these in really tight, so they become just really, actually I want them even smaller than that. So now at the end of it, you just have this little darker wing case, and you know, you've got your little triple tail there, not the ones you find in the saltwater, unfortunately, but you just have this great little mayfly profile. A big tungsten bead will help it get it down, whether you're using it for high sticking or whatever methodologies you want to fish. Overall, it's a pretty stellar little bug. Probably one of my go-tos for most tailwater fisheries with blue-winged olives as far as nymphs. So, alright, next beast to get going here. And so this is a 2051, it's a lighter wire stinger hook. It's a Daiichi Alec Jackson. And you guys may not all fish for steelhead, but you can use a lot of this knowledge for trout too. One of the biggest ones that I think people are missing the boat on is fishing leadwings. If you guys are curious what a leadwing is, it's those goofy looking flies a lot of times that you see kind of at like Kmart, Walmart, you know, like the old bumblebee looking guy, and you know, the old-timey stuff. So I think that stuff, Mendoza Wine and Son, dig that fly. What do I call that there fly? That was called Hogan's S&M. It's tied by a guy, Hogan Brown. He's a guide in Northern California. Good friend of mine. We adventure quite a bit together. He has a cool website, a blog. Talks a lot about fishing. He's a musician, so he's a pretty well-versed guy. So right now I'm just building this little zone right here, and I'll show you what we're going to do. So a lot of times I like to have a hot tag end on my steelhead flies, so I'll go ahead and whip finish, and I'm just going to kind of get this out of the way for the work that I want to do. And I'm going to use for my hot spot some of the, if I can get the bubbles out of it, there we go. So this is fly finish, UV fly finish in hot pink. It's an opaque color. So I'll go ahead and just build up a nice little hot spot back here. Just enough to cover the hook. Nothing too mega. We'll rotate it just a bit. We'll go ahead and cure it. So you guys could use this stuff for like wing cases and all that. And I like to build it up in nice, little bit smaller layers than, you know, a transparent resin, because there is a lot of color in there. So just keep that in mind. And you can see it kind of pops and glows really well. And you get a nice, hard, durable, bomb-proof hot spot. Kind of looks like an egg, maybe. If you wanted to think of it that way, you could. And for the body, I'm just going to throw in some pearl core braid, and I just use this as like a binding agent. Forget which one I use kind of all of them, you know, interchangeably. But the reason I like this is there's a little bit of flash, and even though the hot spots are opaque, I imagine that it'll kind of help it to pop a little bit at the end of the day. So we're going to do almost like a 2/3 wrap here. So this is just really simply wrapping and kind of getting stuff up to the front here. So like this technique here you can use for any number of flies that you might be tying. Coating stuff with resins for stone flies, salmon flies, whatever, big caddis patterns, stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool thing. Flyboy Co 128, what's up, man? How's it going? So this is, I'm going to use one of our new hot purple resin. It's kind of fun to get to colorize your fly just using a resin, and you get some really cool, on a lighter pass through. You're not going to get full penetration of color, but anything left over we'll just drink it back into the bottle. We'll get a few coats going here. So what we do is we can go ahead and cure this now. And all of our colored resins should be dropping next week. So if you guys are chomping at the bit, get ready, because they're going to come down the pike. So you can see now, once you start getting a little more resin on there, darkens up, gets a little bit brighter. It's cool because it'll just bond to the last section that you used. Great way to add durability to intruder style flies. We'll go ahead and just rotate that real quick so you get a pretty smooth body. That drink move. Oh, when I yeah, I use the resin bottle to suction back up what I don't need. That's a good little fun hack there if you guys have never seen that one before. Kind of a tricky one. And so for this, I'm just going to use some STS Trilobal, and Trilobal is a cool dubbing. It's a nice little synthetic. So I get a good little pinch of that. And a lot of times I like this fuchsia, or like almost a clarice color. I like to have a little bit of variance in there. And you can see once you start mixing these, you'll get a really, really cool look. Almost some pinky purples going on in there. Will they send out to dealers on the webs? Or yes, dealers should be getting shipments very shortly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a little stack technique where I'll take like a loose wrap, as long as I don't have too much thread out from doing loop or UV. So I just do a nice little stack here, and you're going to get this cool, kind of builds like a micro collar. And next up I'm going to use some pheasant rump. And you want to go grab the Keeg Solaka. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. So you want to find like the laziest rooster or pheasant rump you can find. Like the guy who didn't do much, run around, cause trouble, get beat up, because he's going to have the nicest feathers, right? So if he's been picked on his whole life, then his feathers are going to be kind of hammered. So what I do is I like to separate out this, and you know, if you live in other countries, you guys have some cooler feathers than us, and but at least in the States, this is probably one of the coolest little basic economical options here for something like, you know, if you have access to like heron or something cool like that. This is a great little sub for that on smaller flies. It gives you a really cool swept back look, and overall a good looking fly. Yeah, buddy. What's up, brother? How's SoCal? How was fly tying night, Mr. Camacho? So I just do a few little dubbing sections here, and this is where we're going to palmer through. and kind of create the front of the fly. So I don't like it to be too heavy duty. When I get up front, I'm not going to use any at all. So I like to just do my wraps staggered, kind of just like Palmer in a body. It's a little thick back there. I got a little aggressive, I guess. A little thicker than I normally like it to be. But that's alright. We'll deal with it. So all I'm doing is applying scissor tension and kind of pulling out some, almost like an under fur comb, but for tapering the materials there. And it's kind of cool too because a lot of those trilobal fibers glow. They have a good glow and sheen to them, and there it is. So this is a cool steelhead candy. It's a comedy show. Yo, your tying night is a comedy show? Basically a heckle fest. I like it, dude. I gotta make it to one of those one of these days. Danish sea trout and steelhead chomp that. Yeah, they do, man. They just like things. I've never figured out what exactly they like, but they like things. It's kind of like when we're guiding steelhead. The guy goes, "Man, is this the best fly?" I was like, "The best one's the one in the water." You know, changing your fly all the time and losing the faith is never a good thing. So this is that little American hen saddle. It's kind of cool because it has like a white center that they've dyed, and then a black iridescence on the outer tips. And I'm not sure if they all have that, but the one that I do does. Maybe that's why I chose it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in a nice forward progressive collar here, building this up. And you guys can make them as sparse or as heavy as you want based on your water clarity, what the fish seem to like. It's really just kind of a personal thing. Let's see here. Start by kind of preening these out here. They zip back together pretty well, and then it's kind of all over. So, full disclosure, you can kind of leave the fly as is, finish it, and fish it. Bobber Neon, what's up, man? So, you know, if married wings and little tinty, cool, fancy wings aren't your jam, otherwise you can progress on and you know, try to do a married wing scenario here. Kind of want to find the oh, there she is. So when you go look for them, you can see I kind of get ones that I like, and I like what I look for is as even as possible, pretty clean tips because you want it to look great. And these aren't expensive ones. These aren't expensive feathers for married wings. These are like, as you can see, I purchased these here locally for $4.95 a bag. So they're from Hairline. They're going to do a great job. Now you can go off the deep end with wings and stuff and spend, you know, $30 for 2 feathers instead of $5 for like 4. So what I like to do is I'll take have no idea what happened to the music. The interwebs must have broken. Oh, it's back. Perfect. I like to just try to keep it even, the whole feather even as I work down through it. It's just kind of my little program there. So the way that a married wing kind of works out is each one of these feathers they're like zippers. And what I mean by that is, if you can see, it's kind of hard, but you can see really closely when you look that they stick together via like little tiny barbules. And then what ends up happening is you can adjust your barbules to fit different ways. So for like this program, what I'll do is I'll say that's our desired depth, and you can see if I let them go, they want to become a tent. I am not Davey McPhail at this, so don't hold me accountable. I like to do 2 loose wraps, and then I typically will pull down, and I just trust that I've done a good job to create a cool little married wing. Sometimes it works. Sometimes I realize when I get in there, I'm like, oh man, that one's like 1/8 of an inch shorter. I'm like, whatever, we're gonna fish it. But you know, for fishing flies, it's not gonna matter. Trout's not, or steelhead face isn't gonna come up there and be like, hey, your married wing's 1/16 of an inch shorter on that one side there. We can't eat that. But at the end of the day, if your buddies are scouring through your box, they'll judge you. So it is what it is. From there, what I do is I just like to take the minimal amount of whips going down. And you can see sometimes this will kind of, you want it to low ride a little bit. Torqued it a little bit on one side, but it's going to fish great. Like I said, I'm not a pro at this. If I could do one for a photograph, sometimes it's 3 to 4. And I'll just go ahead and I'll just chase my thread with a little bit of black Sharpie since I use white thread. And I'm going to be, oh no, there's deer hair on there, that's sketch. I'm going to cheat a little bit and get a nice gloss finish using Fly Finish in black. So it'll build up a nice super glossy head. We'll just go ahead and set it and bake it. Not much, man. Do I have a name for this fly? I don't. I really don't. I think it's kind of like a hybridized purple peril. I don't really name flies, so if there's names on things, it's usually our guys in the IT department that name my bugs. Just because I don't name something until it's been like so hyper proven that I feel confident with it. And for steelhead flies, that's a whole different ball game, right? So you can see we get this really cool little wing, nice little head on it. Looks like a great little steelhead bug. A little bit lighter wire. If you're going after bigger fish, more ornery fish, say if you're fishing this in BC, a little bit deeper water, they do make this hook in like a heavier wire as well. Oh, I don't think Kmart exists anymore. Yeah, that's possible. I don't really know. But yeah, it's just a cool little steelhead fly. Catch a few fish for you guys. So, all right. But that's about what I've got tonight. I'll give you guys a few minutes down there in the comments to let me know. So here's a question, I guess. It's like tying flies is super fun and interesting. Obviously, it's why we're here. I guess my question that I would pose is, would it be interesting as well to see like a full hour of insane fun, like tricks, tips, and hacks to make UV resin flies better? Like, you know, like somebody popped in and said, well, oh man, when I suck the UV resin back into the bottle, like I forget to usually talk about that stuff because it's just in my brain. But it'd be almost fun to like show you how to make lateral lines with UV resin and holding flash and propping collars and doing all of this kind of stuff. I guess it's stuff that I don't think about. So we have a few guys saying yes. So thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Let's see. Mr. Franklin, no, I'll get it up on YouTube, buddy. Oh, my reclaimed box that I tie in, I built that. I built that, buddy. So, yeah. So what we'll do is, let's see, where are we at right now? So technically at the next Loon Live, there'll be a Loon live stream, I think, on a Thursday. Might be in the middle of the day, but we're going to be at the International Fly Tackle Dealer Show, and they have their Iron Fly. So I need to go there and try to win a trophy. Last year we live streamed winning, which was kind of fun, and then we donated everything. I think you get like $100 worth of materials or something, so we donated that to the Wounded Warrior Project in Florida. So this year the show's in Denver. I'm going to bring my whole setup for Instagram Live. Can't bring the whole studio setup. So watch out for that, and then we'll be back early December. But I'll work on some tricks, tips, and then I'll get some basically par cooked flies, right? Like stuff that's at a point where a trick or tip would be a stellar show, just so you're not sitting there watching me tie like all of these different flies and such. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and we will check you next time. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon.